Today in our reading workbook, we are looking at analyzing accounts of the same topic or different people's perspectives of the same topic, which is what we've been doing with the fairy tales yesterday and today. Now we're going to look at it in our reading workbook. So you need to have your reading workbook open to page 234 and follow along and do these pages with the video. So on page 234, our learning target says, analyzing two or more accounts of the same topic will help you better understand different points of view about that topic. An account is something written or told about an event or topic. An account is told from the author's point of view and shows what he or she thinks and feels about that event or topic. When you read two or more accounts of the same event or topic, analyze, which is closely study, each author's point of view to tell how the accounts are similar and different. In the cartoon below, what points of view do the man and the boy have about what is happening? Circle any details that suggest each person's point of view. So the man is saying, I'm glad to get rid of this ugly tree. And the little girl or the little boy is saying, I loved climbing that tree. So he's ready to get rid of the tree. But this person is not looking to get rid of the tree because they liked climbing it. They don't want to see it go. You can also see on their face, they're like worried or like upset that the tree is going. So we're going to look now at the chart on page 235. So the event that we are talking about is the tree being cut down. They already filled that part in for us. Now we're going to analyze the 2 points of view, the details about the man's point of view and the details about the boy's point of view. So the man looked happy in the picture and the boy looked sad. I kind of said he looked worried or anxious, but he does look sad. You don't necessarily have to put sad. You could say he looked worried. What does he say? So the man is saying, I'm glad to get rid of the ugly tree. He's happy. He looks happy. He's saying he's glad. He's calling the tree ugly, so he wants it gone. The boy says, I loved climbing that tree. Why? So he is sad because why would you get rid of, if somebody's getting rid of something you love, that would make you sad. And then finally, his point of view about the event. The man feels happy that the tree is being cut down. The boy is sad that the tree is being cut down. The man wants the tree to go. The boy does not want the tree to go. Now we're going to look at another story on page 236. Our closed reader habit at the bottom of the page says, when you reread the accounts, underline phrases or sentences that show the point of view of each author expresses about Pike's expedition. As we read, we're going to underline things in each passage about the point of view of each person. So the first one is Zebulon Pike and the Source of Mississippi, and it's by George Chester. In August 1805, Zebulon Pike and a group of men left the St. Louis, Missouri to explore the little-known Mississippi River. Their mission? Find the river's source, which is where it begins. Pike and his men traveled north along what would become the borders of Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. A pleasant autumn gave way to a brutal winter, and Pike and his men suffered horribly. But on February 1st, the expedition reached Lake Sangsu, also called Leech Lake. Believing he had found the source of the Mississippi, an exhausted but overjoyed Pike claimed victory. But the truth is that Pike had failed. Later explorers discovered that the Mississippi's true source is Lake Itasca, roughly 25 miles west of Leech Lake. Pike's expedition was a disaster, a brutal 2,000-mile trip made in ice and snow for nothing. So we already have here underlined different sentences that show this author's point of view. Now we're going to look at an excerpt from the journal of Zebulon Pike. So the person who actually took the journey, it's his journal or his account of the expedition. January 7th, 1806. Made but 11 miles, and then were obliged to send ahead and make fires every 3 miles, notwithstanding which the cold was so intense that some of the men had their noses, others their fingers, and others their toes frozen, before they felt the cold sensibly. Very severe day's march. January 12th, 1806. Went out and met my men. A tree had fallen on one of them and hurt him very much. January 13th, 1806. After encountering much difficulty, we arrived on Lake de Sable, a little before night. The ice being very bad on the lake river, one sled fell through. February 1st, 1806. Left our camp pretty early and arrived at Lake Sang Sue at 2:30. I will not attempt to describe my feelings on the accomplishment of my voyage, for this is the main source of the Mississippi. And there we have underlined Zebulon Pike's feelings towards his journey. So as you read those two, you should be able to sense quite a different points of view. George Chester, who wrote the first passage, felt like it was a waste of time. He did all this journey and traveling and through all this hardship for nothing. And Zebulon Pike, in his passage, he felt it was a very hard and harsh time to be traveling through all of that, but he felt that it was very much worth it. He couldn't even describe his feelings. Now we're going to look at page 237 at the chart. So on the chart, the topic that is being discussed in both passages that we read is the expedition of the Mississippi River. Zebulon Pike exploration of the Mississippi. Now we're going to talk about the points of view that were expressed from each person. So we're going to do the points of view about George Chester first. So George Chester describes that Pike is exploring to find the Mississippi River source, which we know that's the topic. He says that it's a brutal winter. He reaches Lake Sang Sue, which he thinks was the source, but the real source is Lake Ithaca, so the expedition failed. So it's brutal. He reaches one lake. He thinks it's the source, but the real source is something else, so that's a failure. That was George Chester's point of view on Zebulon's Pike exploration. If you need more time to write that down, please pause the video. Now we're going to look at Zebulon Pike's point of view of his exploration. So it gives dates in his, which is chronological order. That's one of our text structures we studied before the break. So January 7th, they traveled 11 miles and intense cold. January 12th, a guy got hurt when a tree fell on him. January 13th, a sled fell through the ice. February 1st, believe Lake Sang Sue was the source of the Mississippi. Despite all the difficulties, despite the harsh winter, the intense cold, the guys getting hurt, it was still a success. That's Zebulon Pike's point of view. So now we're going to take these two characters' point of views and we're going to write a paragraph about them on page 242. How they are alike and how they are similar. How they are alike and how they are different. So you should see that both of them thought the journey was harsh. It was a hard journey. It wasn't an easy journey. Chester says brutal winters, and Zebulon Pike describes intense cold and people getting hurt. The difference is George Chester thinks that it was a failure, and Zebulon Pike thinks it was a success despite everything. So you can write that in your own words on page 242. We are going to look at a sample answer. So, a sample answer: the point of view of George Chester, the author of the historical article, is that Zebulon Pike's expedition was a disaster because he did not find the real source of the Mississippi River. The entries for Zebulon's Pike journals are on the same topic of the search for the source of the Mississippi River, but Pike's conclusion about the efforts was different. He believed his expedition, which he calls an accomplishment, was successful. So Chester uses words like disaster, and Zebulon Pike uses words like accomplishment. So they had very different points of view of the same topic.